Yeah, I love spring practice, man. It's a great opportunity to get out there, see a bunch of different guys compete, see them, get after it in different ways. And obviously, we got young guys that are growing up, and we got transfers coming in, and so there's just it's kind of it's the formation seed of a new team, which is really neat and exciting. I do think that it's a little different approach, I think, this year because you got a championship mindset, right? You got guys that know what it's like to play in big games and win big games and compete, and so that's been fun to watch. I think there's an air of professionalism here that, now that we're in year threes, nice to be able to get back in front of.
Yeah, Coach said he's like it doesn't feel like day one. Yesterday it didn't feel like day one of practice. It felt like year three. Can you kind of speak to that and how you've seen that mindset come about?
Yeah, we're still not executing at the level we need to, obviously, and it's early enough to recognize that that's going to be how it is. But I do think that all the little things that we've been asking them to do over the course of the past 2 years, the things that we had to battle year one about what they're wearing to practice or what time they show up or do, those little things, the expectations are kind of already entrenched in them, right? And then also kind of the next level stuff about just competitive play with one another, how we're going to tag off and how we're going to block each other, how you can fit up and practice like pros practice. You go watch those guys practice. Nobody's ever on the ground. They do a great job protecting each other. I thought our guys have done a nice job of that these first 2 days of practicing like professionals, and we don't have to spend time coaching them how to practice. We can spend time correcting the scheme and correcting the execution piece that obviously we got to get much better at.
With so many new guys coming in, I mean, obviously a veteran group coming back, but you got all these transfers and a few freshmen. How quickly are you able to get a sense of like what they can handle and make sure you're not overloading them in the first couple of days?
Well, so we've had a chance to, during our morning workout piece the last 6 weeks, kind of introduce some of those initial things that we've done, right? So we got through our second install today. We got another big one coming on Saturday to and that'll be a big bulk of what it is we do. And then we kind of get into some of the recycling of the schemes, maybe formation it different or something. But most of the schemes will be in after Saturday. And so most of the transfers have experienced some kind of offensive load at some point, or for us, and then so freshmen generally haven't, right? It's always a shock to them, but it's a shock to them no matter what time of year you get them. So getting those transfers in, they know that. Obviously, it's all different terminology, it's all different stuff, but they've got a little bit more understanding of that, and their correction curve will happen faster, right? So they may be just as sloppy as the freshmen day one and day two, but once they kind of settle into what it is that we're asking them to do, then I think that our execution will accelerate from there.
It's been fun watching Brashard Smith during a practice.
Yeah.
To see what is the kind of experience like having a guy who's so versatile and how you guys are going to slowly start to figure out what you can do with him this year.
Yeah, he's got a lot of similarities to Roderick Daniels, who's on our team already, but you're right, it's different. It's a different speed, it's a different suddenness when the ball's in his hands. And so that's exciting. You can always take great players and find something for them to do, and he's certainly that, and we will we got great versatility in this offense. I think we got great personnel versatility the way that we play, and so he's a guy that has got a chance to make, not a chance. There's an expectation, I think, that he'll make an instant impact for us as well.
You mentioned competition a little bit earlier. Obviously with each other, with themselves. How important is it to have that this early in the season? I mean, obviously, there's players that are going to be on your team who aren't even on campus yet. But.
Well, competition's the name of the game, right? We saw that last year. We brought a bunch of new guys in, and we created a championship culture. Now, we had great players, but we really lifted that part of it. Now, I think that we've got to take another step this year. We're not ready for competition in the ACC, so we've got to generate some of that competition that's going to make sure that we fill out. We can't just take 22 good players. That'll be fine, but really, eventually, we got to have layered a depth chart that can compete in that league, right? Your twos have got to be able to play for your ones, and we got to be ready to do that. So that's critical this spring to make sure that we maintain the urgency that we have about competitiveness and really start developing some of these guys that we're going to have to count on in the 2, and even 3 deep some coming this summer and fall.
I guess how do you go about making sure they stay stay on task and maintain that culture that they built going into the new offense?
Well, there's old coach speak that talks about coach-led teams and then player-led teams. And I think that, every coach's dream is to get to the point where it is a player-led team, right? Lead them long enough until they can lead themselves, right? And then you just got to put them in positions to compete. Keep bringing the right kind of people into the organization, right? Challenge the leaders, develop the leaders to be vocal enough to carry on the culture that Coach Lashley's established here. It's a fun challenge once you kind of get it maintained right here and you see that the players are really bought into what it is that we're doing, and they're kind of policing themselves, right? The things that you say, all of a sudden you hear them saying to each other, that's when you really got something cooking. And I think that we are there, and I think that will help us accelerate what we need to do as far as development. Even though we got a long way to go, that kind of speaks back to the culture piece and where we're at from a professionalism and a championship standard standpoint at this point in the year.
Who have you seen step into those kind of leadership roles? I know it's early, but
yeah, it's early. Preston's out here pushing as far as I don't know what the doctors are telling him, right? But he's out here doing as much as he possibly can, and probably that much more, right? And Kevin's doing a great job. Obviously, those two guys are kind of the bell cows for our offense, right? I've really seen a step out of Justin Osborne. He's a guy that has always been a great player on our offense, but has never, kind of taken that front chair, and he wants it. He's eager for it. He is so athletic. I've long thought that he was the most athletic of our offensive linemen and the most versatile, and to see him play in that center position he looks like an NFL player, So that is super exciting. But going back to, your question, I think he's a guy that's in the leadership role. R.J. Maryland, I think, is understanding. He was a guy that was just a puppy, hadn't been here 2 full years yet, but he's understanding, hey, my voice matters now, and making sure these guys go. Some of those older receivers, Jake Bailey's he's steady as the sun, So Junior Daniels is a guy that's contributed. So I'm excited about where we're at culturally right now. Obviously, we got to raise our level play.
What does it do for you guys when you've got you have Kevin and Preston both involved, or both big voices? Kevin got some really big moments last year. What does that kind of do for a team when it's not very often I think you'd have two guys who have the amount of experience and have been in the amount of moments they've had, and what that brings for you guys as you're prepping?
Yeah, well, I think that speaks to maybe your competition question earlier, right? It's guys, now you've got a depth chart with guys that are seasoned, that have won championships, that have stepped up in big moments, that have reacted for each other, that have cheered for one another, right? And it's awesome vocally what they can do and provide, in a meeting setting or in a hangout breakfast setting or on the practice field setting, right? They do a great job there, but just the demeanor that they have around one another, knowing that, man, here's two guys that can start in the ACC, and that challenges everybody else on this field to say, man, we got to take the approach that those guys take, and they are for each other, and it's been fun to watch them interact with one another, and I'm really excited to watch both of them continue to develop.
I think we're good.
Cool, man.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks.